Hi, I'm going to show you how to use our Vergo kitchen remodel plan template. To begin with, we can start with the task here. You have an option for planning, demolition, electrical, repaint walls, and installation. This is all predetermined. You can change or modify this to your liking or to what best fits you. Next, you have the status. Under status, you have not started, in progress, on hold, or complete. You can modify this by clicking the edit button here. Once you've clicked on the button, you can change the color, you can change the name, you can change, add, or delete any items. If you've made any changes, make sure you always click on Done, Apply to All, and then hit X next to Data Validation Rules. This ensures that the change will occur on all the drop-down menus. Next, here you will add the start date. Now it's important to know that any date that is in yellow or in orange in this case is going to update on its own, as well as the duration and percentage. So let me give you an example. If the start date is on the second here, this will find the earliest start date and this will find the latest end date. So let me show you how this works. If I start this on the second instead of the first, it's going to modify this to the second. And what if I want this task to only last me or to last me 3 days? I'm going to add 3 days here and it's going to modify the end date. Now, let me show you the end date as well. It's highlighting or grabbing the latest date from this series. So if I want this task here that starts on the 10th, I want it to last 4 days, I'll add a 4 here and it's going to modify that date to the 14th. So now my end date here is the 14th, and as well as the duration. Also sums up any days that you've added here. So you would add this manually and add the start date manually based on when this would end. So in this case, this starts here, the brainstorm, for 3 days, then this could start on the 5th. So you would modify that as well. This here calculates the percentage, the average of all the percentage that you have here. So if this is at 50% complete, it will update and modify this accordingly to it as well. So let's say we've already finished this, so we can complete and have it 100%. This is where you would add the contractor or the company in charge of the task. Here you would add the predecessor. In this case, before we start the mood board, we would have to do the brainstorm, and so on and so forth. Next, you have a space for notes. And at the end, you have a space where you can choose who the task is assigned to from the drop-down menu. Again, you can choose to modify this by clicking the edit button. You can change the color, add or remove any item. If you make any changes, make sure you click on Done, Apply to All, and then X out from data validation rules. Let's move on to the next tab. In the Budget tab, this is where you can keep track of any budget, any items or services. You can add or modify this here to your liking. If it's yes, no, if it's on hand, if it's completed, etc. This is where you would add the item or service. You can add an image here. Then you can choose from this drop-down menu the status of the item or the status of the service. If it's on hand, if it's listing, decided, completed, if it's served service, and etc. You can change this by clicking the edit button. You can change the colors, you can change the name, add or remove any items. Make sure you always click on Done, Apply to All, and X next to Data Validation Rules. Next, you have the task, which this belongs to. So in this case, let's say item number 1 or service number 1 belongs to task of rewiring the kitchen, which you can find that here, Rewire Kitchen. So the electrical company is the one in charge. Next, you can add here when it's needed by, the estimated cost. You can put the actual cost, who the contractor is or the company, add any link here. This is where you would add receipts, and you have a space for notes at the end. And this at the top will calculate all the estimated subtotal that you've entered here, and this will calculate the subtotal that you've entered here. Then this will follow along with the deviation, which calculates the estimated subtotal minus the subtotal, and then you have a percentage deviation as well. And then last but not least, we have the contractors tab, and this is where you would add the contractor company, the type of company that they do, or the type of work they do. You can modify this by clicking the edit button, add the point of contact, then you would add their number, an email, any invoice images, and you have a space for notes at the end. And that's how you would use our Vergo Kitchen Remodel Plan template.